Welcome back, everyone. It's Kev here again from Sully's Rods and Customs. Tonight I'm going to reassemble the control arms back onto this Mustang 2 front end. I cut it out last night out of this old chassis that I bought. It's this chassis, like I mentioned before, it was out of a Volkswagen Beetle. It had a blown big block Chevy in the front of it. Yep, in the front of it. Person I bought it off, Joe, he has put a new chassis under that thing, something that can handle more power, more modern power. So good luck with that project, Joe. And thanks again for the good deal. So you can see here where I cut this chassis, cut the parts out of the chassis. Get rid of those gloves. It was fully welded in. It was quite significant. I was at it for several hours. I did get a couple of little nicks into the chassis rail. I tried using my plasma cutter on it, but there was too much powder coat on here to actually get a good cut at it, so I ended up using the angle grinder. But I've dressed it up fairly well. If someone's interested in a chassis, I'm willing to sell this off pretty cheap. Be excellent for a same sort of vehicle, you know, like a Volkswagen Bug or any sort of rat rod. Good chassis rails in this thing. It's been beefed up at the back end here for a 4-link rear end. Obviously it needs a bit more cleanup because it's looks like it's had all this welded in while it's been in the car, and they haven't been able to repowder coat it or coat it, but very stiff in the back end. It's got all the cross member stuff through the middle, but anyway, that's not what I'm here for tonight. Like I said, I'm going to reassemble the Mustang 2 front end, so you can see all the polished stainless control arms it's got here. They're all adjustable. They have these adjustable Heim joints in them. You know, you can back off the nut. You can adjust your steering. The ball joints are in good nick, except the rubbers have come out from underneath the actual ball joint. So you can see this one here, it's left it exposed. It's got a bit of rust inside. So I'm just going to reassemble it just to keep it all in one piece and store it ready for when I weld it into the chassis on that 1935 Master. But yeah, I'll put the camera down now and I'll let you watch the process of reassembly. Okay, so like I mentioned, I have the control arms here, quite heavy actually. Once you pick it up in one piece, I guess they're all individually when you buy them, but like I said, got too good a deal on this chassis to not purchase this. So I'm going to reassemble it. It has a couple of fair sized bolts here. They're like UNF thread in here. Quite a hefty bolt that holds it in. So each one of these spigots here is a full pipe right through the top and bottom of this subframe, and they're threaded in each end. So these bolts go through these main pivots, go through into that threaded pipe section. So I'll assemble them first. I'll get those installed here. They're quite a snug fit in there, and the rubbers have started to swell a little bit, so hopefully I can get them in without too much trouble. Let's pop that in there. Might need a bit of persuasion. I'll grab a bar or something. Maybe I can use the breaker bar to persuade it out a little. It's got to compress the rubber on the opposite side to get it to start. Obviously, doing this live or doing this without any outtakes on the video, probably going to see me bust my knuckles here or something. I'll get a soft face hammer, give it a bit of persuasion, and then where will I hit this? Don't want to bash it in the wrong place. That side's up and in. That side's up and in. That side's starting there. Pretty sure got my impact here. I don't want to do them up too tight, but I just want to get some weight on the bolts. Plus it's quite late at night. It's not late, but it's, what's that, 8 Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. Not everyone's out shopping. Some idiots are in their garage working on cars. All right, this top one looks like it goes together quite easy, and it does have a couple of these bigger washers in the kit, or in the bolts to reassemble it with and pack it out, because as you can see, this one's got a little bit of movement in the top here. Probably 2mm clearance there, which is good for dummy assembly, but not good for final assembly. Just nip them up a bit. Alright, so full pivot on there, which is good. Right, now I need to get these bolts out that hold the coilover shocks in. Let's run that out with the impact. What's this? Looks 5/8. Something I prepared earlier. Let's run them out. So bolt out there. Grab a coilover. Now on these coilovers, I'm not sure which way they go. It has the dampening and the cushioning on the top and bottom of these, so the nut always goes to the bottom, but I'm not sure where it actually fits in the hot rod, whether I'll have the dampening at the top or the dampening at the bottom, the front or the back. So I'll just dummy assemble it now. Obviously there you go, that answers my question. The dampening has to go out, otherwise it's inside the shock tower. I'll grab the bolts for that. Should be in this box here somewhere. That looks like could be them. One for each side. Let's get that in there. Line it up better. The heavy washer on. Bolt and nut on. 5/8 ring spanner. Tight enough for now. So what are we going to do now? We'll try and get this packed up a little bit to get that bottom shock bolt back in. So it's just a long bolt. This looks stainless steel. Looks a bit rusty from inside the what's happening is it's not rust, it's just a bit of dirt actually. From inside the bolts here, they do have some packers there somewhere to secure these better, but or just give them some persuasion in. Obviously when I assemble it on the car, I think the bolt may need to go the other way because the bump stop, actually the bump stop's not back here, that's all right. But that steering will hit the front, so let's just assemble it as we would if it was actually on the car. Let's put it in from the front. That's the way it should go. Not sure how it was when I got it, but so that way now steering stops and hits the head of the bolt rather than stops and hits the thread, which was probably about here somewhere. So it would have restricted the way the steering operated on this, the way it was assembled before. So I'll just get this nut back on here. That's in there now. So obviously it's pretty tough to operate because it's got that bloody coilover in it. Let's work on the other side. So the other side, I don't know if there's a bit of corrosion between the disc and the hub, but I couldn't get the disc off, and I didn't want to beat the crap out of it. I didn't want to damage it. So again, when I get closer to the time of proper assembly, I've got to strip these down anyway, change the ball joints, repolish them up, and get the assembly process happening that way. Using doing lots of grunting here. Get a liquid refreshment. The old Great Northern. Thank you very much. All right, let's get this one in. Let's try and get that bottom one in first, like we did last time on the other side. Geez, that went together a lot easier. Now that looks like it's got a rubber missing off it. There it is there. It's just the rubber seal that goes around the side here. Yeah, again, I mentioned it before, if you don't have these sort of things on your vehicle in Australia, it won't pass. It's ADR compliance. Everything's got to be dust sealed and dust booted, and a bit stricter rules in Australia than in the US. Let's get that bolt in there. Zip that up. Right size socket on it. What do we got on that one? 15/16. One. The other one in. Get the start on it. Again, these are just put in dry. No lube. Don't get excited because I said no lube, but it's only assembly, like I mentioned, just so I can keep it all together. I don't want any of the parts going amiss. Looks like it'd take a bit of time to try and collect all the correct bits and pieces for it again. There we go. You can see it's got quite good suspension travel. It's got the suspension travel is the limits of the ball joint, which is good. Get the other coilover. Again, face both of them the right way. Drop it in the hole. What's that to do with that coilover bolt? It'll be here somewhere. There it is. All right, let's lift this little baby up. Get it in the hole here. There's my issue. I can't get the coilover in because the bottom bolt is in still, interfering with it. I'll change that back to the 5/8 socket. It'll go back in the other way, like I mentioned. Get that bolt in the hole. The washer on. Spacer, washer, lock nut. Lock that up with the 5/8 ring as well. That's on there. I'll line this bolt up for the bottom one. Sorry, my head's down and facing you, but I don't actually have that much room in the garage to get a better position at this than what I'm currently working at. You get to look at my receding hairline and the direction you're looking at it at the moment. Let's see if I can't spin that in. What's happening here? It's a bit tighter for some reason. Get that under there. Give me a bit of height for this bolt. So something's happening here. Why is it misaligning? I need something to pack it up, get a bit more height under it. Seems like the coilover's bottoming out under there. How's that look? Does that give it more travel? That's stupid. Put the old soft face hammer underneath it, which ain't gonna work. I'll get a different hammer, stick it underneath. I only put this bit of old towel down on the floor, not to keep this stuff from getting scratched, because I can polish it all out, and this is all going to get re-blasted and painted. But you can imagine the noise it kind of makes if everything's on the floor like this versus everything on the floor like this. So I'm just trying to keep it quiet for the neighbours. It's one of the pitfalls of living in suburbia. There we go. Just a bit of persuasion. Get the bolts back on. Hopefully I didn't damage the head of that bolt when I hit the edge then. Hold the head with a socket. There we go. So, what have we got here so far? So we got the control arms on, the hubs and those parts of the assemblies are all one piece. Got the bolts here for the calipers. I'll get those calipers back on. Hopefully you can't hear me puffing and panting too much. It's quite muggy in here today. A bit of rain around and a bit of sun come out this afternoon, so get these bolts out too. They're already out, they must be in the box. All right, let's get some calipers back on. At the moment they're just a bit grubby and dirty, but again, like I mentioned, I'll get them cleaned up. As you can see, they're quite large calipers with pretty big pads inside them. Made in Australia, PBR. They've been powder coated orange like the colour on Joe's car, and ceramic powder coated on the rest of it. Looks pretty neat, but once it gets all tidied up, it'll look really good. So once I clean them up, let's get these on for now. And that's bottom on that side. Of course, when you're putting calipers on, you've got to make sure your bleed screw is to the top. So in actual fact, that's the top on that side. And that's that side. Let's get these little babies on here. Get a couple of bolts in. So I had to disassemble this just so I could do the cutting on the chassis to get this Mustang 2 front end cut out. It's probably to the disgrace of all my mates, all the Chevy guys, all the Holden guys. Ford did a few good things with their cars. They had some ugly body shapes, but geez, they made some good, strong components. I think this is not an exact Mustang front end. It's got the geometry of a Mustang, similar size control arms and stuff. Everything like that's very similar. I guess that's why they call it a Mustang 2 front end, but not exactly the same. They also made pretty good bloody diffs. 9-inch diff is a great diff. Got them installed in lots of cars around the world. We got here 5/8. Yep, 5/8 socket there on a short extension. Just nip those bolts up. That's them in there. Rotor spins. Brake calipers on. I'll just leave the brake lines up in here for now just to get them out of the way. Find the 2 other caliper bolts in the box here somewhere. Can't be far away. Where are they? Pretty sure I put every bolt in this box. There's one. Got one of them. Is that the other one? Looks pretty short, but that looks like it might be the number 2. There we go, there's the 2 bolts. I'll get this caliper on over here. What I need to do is, these bolt heads look like they've been powder coated the same as the car. So when you, powder coated in that sort of chromey colour, what I might see if I can do is if I can get stainless steel bolts to go into those locations. Look a lot better if I can polish the head of a stainless steel bolt up. Let's get, can't put that on yet. I haven't got the other disc on. I'll get the other disc. You can see they're quite a large disc as well. Hardly any wear marks on them. Obviously didn't do a lot of kilometres in this car. Looks like it's only just had the powder coating skimmed off them. So I'll give you an idea on size. What have I got here? Must have a ruler here somewhere, right? Tape measure. What have we got here? 300 millimetre or 30 centimetre disc to go with the calipers. And they're pretty large calipers, so that's good. This thing will brake really well. So, let's get those in here. Sorry I got my back to you, but I've got to get this under here and mounted. See if I can't get it like that. There we go. Might just zip a couple of wheel nuts on there, or lug nuts, whatever you call them in your particular country. Is this the right socket for it? Nope. There we go. Oops. Well, that didn't go on that well, did it? They must be bottoming out on there. Anyway, they are what they are. How am I going to support this thing from rolling over? I have this old cross member out of the Caprice that I pulled the engine and trans out of. All right, let's get this caliper on here. Probably should have drank a bit less beer this afternoon if I was going to do some filming. And huffing and puffing a lot here. You can probably hear me in the background there. All right, where's that bottle? Let's have a little look-see down here. There we go. That's one in. That's 2. Let's get these zipped up with the impact. Actually, let's get this one zipped up. Let's get this one out because the washer fell off. The washer on first, then put it back in. All right, that's both sides assembled. So I'll just put some of these sockets and crap back away, and I'll grab the camera. I'll give you a little look at what it looks like when it's fully assembled. So give me 2 seconds and I'll get the camera back out and walk you around. Okay, so packed up a bit of the rubbish there. So that's what it looks like fully assembled. You can see the disc, calipers, coilovers. There's my brake line hanging out the back there. Orange is not the colour the car's going to be, if that's what you're thinking. It's just the colour that the parts were when I got them from first when I bought the chassis off. There you go, you can see what it looks like there. I'll walk you the other side. Easy to access the dampening here. Has these big calipers on here, which are really good for me. I'll just see if I can swing it around a bit more here. Sorry about the camera there. Oops, that's a bit dangerous. Get back on there. Now what happened then was I moved the front end and I pushed that car stand out from underneath the chassis, sitting there, tilted down a fair bit. But yeah, that's how it looks fully assembled. I'm really hoping the video came out okay. It looks like the battery was down to 2% at the time there, and I'm not sure if the audio switched over from the mic that I'm wearing back to the phone or not, but hopefully it turned out okay. So when I change these ball joints, like I said, I'm going to get some decent caps made for the top of them, stop the water getting into it. You can see how much water got underneath this one. Started rusting around there. The center hole in this was used by the previous owner with these caps. I'll show you the cap. Let me just screw this off of here. Try and get it one-handed if I can. Hang on 2 secs. Yeah, so these caps sat on the top there. These button head in-hex cap screws there. From the bottom of these caps, screwed into that grease nipple hole there. Really, you could have screwed that on with a straight grease nipple and still had access to grease it, but instead they had this type of arrangement on the top. Probably suited the car when Joe had it. It's not something I'll do. I'll probably take these off and get some new ones made like this that are just a nice plain cap that covers the top of there. If you can imagine that thing without this threaded section on it, it'd be just a nice plain alloy cap. And then I'll just put like a little stainless steel grease nipple on the top. I know it won't look perfect, but practicality and usability aren't always going hand in hand. So yeah, that's what was on there, and that's why it's sort of rusty, because it's something you would never see underneath underneath that cap. Like I mentioned before, you can see all these rubber boots on the side of these heim joints here. Top ones are fully adjustable. I think one of these has a loose nut on it somewhere from the other day. Yeah, so you can screw off this nut, take that bolt out, turn the heim joint to extend it in and out, and adjust your camber, caster, all that type of stuff on them, which is pretty cool. It's not something you want your regular wheel alignment guy doing. Fortunately for me, brother works at Blair's Tyres down at Rilla. There's a shout out for you boys down there at Blair's. See Darren at the back, does really good wheel alignments, gets a lot of odd cars in there that people have trouble aligning. A lot of new school cars, a lot of old school cars, but he can do them all. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got happening here at the moment. Also, what I did last night was I stripped out the coilovers out of the back of it, the back of this chassis. You can see, like I mentioned before, it's raw. Pulled out the 9-inch diff. 9-inch diff is very much like the front end there, you know, it's got all these pretty hefty link joints in it. Has some really good brakes on it. Probably not going to use this diff. I'm going to use that Jag rear end. This is all fully adjustable as well. So if anyone's interested in a pretty heavy duty 9-inch diff, I've got one for sale. Not sure what I want for it, but as you can see, this thing is really strong. I would say this thing would probably handle a couple of thousand horsepower. It's got, I think, 35 spline. That's just a pipe to keep the two axles in line. 35 spline axles, so a bit of a comparison to my finger size. I've got quite fat fingers, but that's a big axle. Yeah, full floating axles in this thing. You can see Romac axles, really big studs, big as my finger. So yeah, it's a good bit of kit if someone's after it. I might just leave it at that tonight, finish off my beer, pack up the garage, and close out. Don't forget everyone, if you liked what you've seen or like what I was doing here tonight, hit the like button on the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your mates to subscribe. I'm just a one-man gig here. Don't have anyone help me. Just whatever I do in my garage is always done by myself. So yeah, any likes or subscriptions help me, help the channel, encourages me to do a bit more. And I'll talk to you on the next video. Right, see you later.